Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space, update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's here in the house. Then we'll get into this. Mr. All Set, good to see you. Steven Cicero, my man. He was actually in my stream before I was this morning. That's how early he was. Black Hat Team, good to see you. Triple Nickel Technologies, what's up, man? Good to see you. Not James. We have 10 minutes to midnight. Leo Lustig, Broskis. Let's see, Patrick Guyan, good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. Stephen Mint, good morning, sir. Good morning. Kyle Rosa, Dom G. Anybody else I may have missed or repeated, I apologize. Let's get into this. All right, Bitcoin looks like it's having a little bit of a pullback today. 66,485 bucks. Still actually a really good price, but it is having a pullback. Everything's kind of red. Ethereum 2583, doesn't look too bad though. We have Solana 166 bucks, XRP at 52 cents. Again, it's that turd in the bowl floating around. Now, you guys liked that one yesterday. Let's see, Litecoin 68.74. We got Caspa over here at 13.2. That dropped as well. Let's see, ETC, literally everything's dropping. There's nothing that's really like crazy up on the day except for this one right here. Let's see what's this. CRE. Well, I don't even know what this stands for anymore. I forget. This 18% up on the day. It's 22 cents. What is this? I have to click into it for a second if it'll open. Carry, that's right. I have no idea what this is. Not a clue. But yeah, that is. I gotta X out all these things. All right, there we go. Back to things over here. ADA at 35 cents. Not too bad. Sorry to turn on the music a little bit. We have Aptos over here down 8.66% to $9.96. Let's see, Link is at $11.41. Yeah, nothing really jumping out at me, guys. It's just kind of whatever. It's a whatever day. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. People, I'm sure the market will start going back up towards the end of the week. We have Dogecoin at 13.7. Near Protocol is at $4.60. Nothing too crazy. Bonk's down a little bit. Let's check out crypto bubbles over here, see what we got. What's the biggest loser of the day? Seems to be Ape over here. ApeCoin, $1.23. We're down 15.2%. If you guys have any questions, just add me in the chat. Good to see you. Been a minute. We need to catch up soon, says Patrick Guyan. Absolutely. Sounds good, buddy. Good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. We have Cat in a Dog's World. Mew up 6.2% over here, ranked 82nd place. Crazy, out of the top 100 coins. Yeah, that's it. Biggest loser today is Ape, and the biggest earner is Mew. So yeah, that's that. All right, Flashbang Fear and Greed Index looking like a 71. Even though the market's down today, we actually went up 1 point on the Fear and Greed Index. Again, as long as it's under 75, I'm fine with it, but I'd like to see it get back to the neutral point. That way we could rise slowly up into the new all-time highs. That's the hope. Kyle Rosa says higher lows on Caspa. Hell yeah, that's awesome. I haven't looked at any charts at all today. I don't usually do charting on the channel anyways. I look at them on my own time. All right, top 10 coins over here by coin market cap over on CoinGecko, starting with Bitcoin at a $1.3 trillion market cap. We have Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Tron in 10th place at a $13.8 billion market cap. We have Toncoin as well in 11th place, and Cardano in 12th at a 12.6. Not sure. I think we'll see Cardano get back into 10th. I really do have high hopes for it, but I guess we're gonna have to see what happens. This bull run's gonna be crazy. Litecoin in 27th place, 68 bucks at a $5 billion market cap, 5.1 to be exact. And Caspa is at a $3.2 billion market cap in 33rd place. ETC is in 36th place at a 2.7. Crazy. I really want to see all three of those coins do very well. All right, let's move on to the mining segment of things. I have a bunch of stuff I want to watch today and not too much time to do it. We have Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro still taking the lead. Most profitable miner as of right now. The block rewards have been crazy on Caspa. $36.06 per day at 21 terahashes. Crazy. Let me just refresh this. I want to make sure this is all legit. Nope, it is saying it's even more now. 47.28. Oh shit. Still at 10 cents, right? We're at 10 cents. All right. We have the KS5 20 terahash unit over here making 45.03 a day. The KS5M 15 terahash unit is making 31.01 a day. Man, what happened to a lithium? AO1 Pro over here, 16.6 terahash unit making 23 bucks a day. Bruh. That's kind of shitty. What's the lithium looking like? Everything's pulling back, but I don't want to see a lithium pull back anymore. It's like awful. $1.17. I feel like it's been getting a beating from everybody selling, which is totally understandable, but look at this. It's just, and the 1 month's really bad. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have high hopes, but hopefully it does well. I hope everybody makes their money back at least. We got the Bitmain Antminer L9 over here. The 17 gigahash unit is actually making $23 a day. We have the 16 gigahash unit making $21.91. Those units are still, I'm glad they're over the $20 mark, which is pretty awesome. Litecoin and Doge obviously are the two coins to push that one up. We have the KS3 Ice River 8 terahash unit over here making $13 a day. Wow, the KS3 is back to $13 a day. That's pretty good. I mean, not considering what it used to be, but just in general, it was that's pretty high for what it's been lately. It's been like dollars, single dollars. Now let's see the L7 over here. I got the 9050. You guys know I got this thing down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you're interested in hosting. Links in the description. We have $8 or making $8.73 per day on the 9 gigahash unit 9050. Nice. Oh yeah, I love that machine. It is perfect. Let's see. I want to see the KS0 Ultra. Where is that? KS0 Ultra. Look at that. We're back to 80 cents a day at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You know what? Just for shits, I want to see if I was to plug this thing in my house just to keep me warm. It's getting cold. What is the Ultra gonna look like at 30 cents? I'd still be making 32 cents a day. Maybe I will bring those things inside and just say F it and pay the electric bill. If they're making money right now, why not? You know what I mean? Little heaters, and you can Wi-Fi them now. I actually have a video, the sweet little USB dongle thing that goes in the side of them actually connects to Wi-Fi pretty nicely. It's pretty neat. All right, that's it over there. I'm gonna change this back to 10 cents so I'm not screwed for tomorrow. And then let's move on to GPUs. See what we got over here. Aleo still top of the charts. Xano, the 7900 XT. We have the Bitcoin Gold as well. Interesting. Floor. Yeah, it seems to be Aleo still. Aleo's pretty much every card. Let's see. $2.05. Been going down a bit past 24 hours, but yeah, this coin's taking a beating. I ain't gonna lie. There's nothing I can really say. It's down about 60% from a couple months ago. More than that. About 70%. Interesting. All right, let's see. Nope. CPUs. Zephyr still top of the charts. How's Zephyr looking? Zephyr $4.36. If anybody's CPU mining this. Oh, that's been going up the past 7 days. Looking pretty good. I wonder why. Damn, I saw this yesterday too, but I don't feel like I remember it being up that much. Was it up $4 yesterday too? God damn, that's crazy. I wonder why it jumped so big on this coin. It's just a privacy coin as far as I know. I don't know much about it though. All right, moving on. New segment of things. I want to get into this stuff. We gotta speed through this. So we have tech companies race to secure power for data centers. We're gonna start here, and then we're gonna go through a bunch of crypto news and all this other stuff. So let's get into it, guys. That like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Well, we've been covering this growing trend for hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. New energy deals that they are signing that are in turn bringing new power to the grid. Our Pippa Stevens here with a look at the stocks that could benefit. Pippa, we highlighted Oklo last week. Boy, that's been a double since the SPAC.
Yes, there are a lot of attention here, and BYOP, or Bring Your Own Power, could be the new acronym to watch. Tech companies are racing to secure power for their data centers, and one option is to go directly to the source. Amazon and Google have signed agreements to help fund small modular reactors that will power their data centers, while Microsoft has teamed up with Constellation Energy to bring 3 Mile Island back online. Hyperscalers adding new sources of power to the grid could be a trend we see more of, given concerns around their vast power needs, raising prices for everyone else, including consumers. And regulators are already weighing in. The chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Texas said, quote, "We are telling data center developers they will need to supply some of their own power," adding that they can afford to fund construction of new power plants. But small modular reactors especially are a next decade story, leading Morgan Stanley to say we could see an uptick in gas demand in the interim, boosting shares of companies including EQT, Antero, Energy Transfer, and Kinder Morgan. Carl?
Interesting. I'm actually trying to turn on my KS zeros right now from my phone. Let's see. What do we got? Bitcoin hits 3-month high as bipartisan support of crypto industry fuels spot ETF inflows. Let's see what they got to say over here. Again, CNBC television. Let's do it.
What inflows are we seeing into crypto ETFs, and what could that signal about investor sentiment when it comes to the election?
Okay, so Bitcoin touching that 3-month high over the weekend coincided with these blockbuster flows across the 10 spot Bitcoin ETFs, nearly 2.7.
I apologize if they're quiet. I can't turn it up anymore.
$7 billion has been added over the last 7 consecutive trading days, 55% of that going into BlackRock's IBIT product, by far the most popular. To your second point, what does this reflect about potential election sentiment? What's so interesting to me is that we're starting to see this bipartisan support. So you've got crypto PAC money going to both Republicans and Democrats up and down the ballot. Just this weekend, we found out that the billionaire Ripple co-founder Chris Larson gave $12 million to Kamala Harris. I spoke to him in San Francisco a week ago. He said that he's been having conversations with her campaign behind closed doors, and he's optimistic.
So in general, this rise when it comes to cryptocurrency, for a while, remember, former President Trump, he spoke at a cryptocurrency conference. J.D. Vance is seen as pro-cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. The fact that we're seeing this rise going into the election, again, 2 weeks away, is that investor sentiment saying that they believe that former President Trump's going to win the election?
It could be that they're hedging their bets and they're giving money to both sides of the aisle. More than $200 million has been raised by the crypto industry, and the most recent spend numbers that came out over the weekend show that in September, the latest tranche of cash went to House races that are considered toss-ups at this point. 72% of that cash went to Democrats, in fact. Really? And so I think that the overwhelming sentiment here is that the crypto industry wants to build a Congress. It's going to vote through favorable legislation, so they need people on both sides of the aisle to do that.
So one last quick question. You were talking about BlackRock's ETF product when it comes to getting into Bitcoin, a spot Bitcoin ETF. The IBIT, I believe you said it was? All right, so you're saying that there's a change in actually who's investing in that. We're going to be talking about younger investors just a bit later in the show, but very quickly, what's the change there when it comes to younger investors?
Well, what's fascinating is that I talked to Samara Cohen, who's the chief investment officer for BlackRock's ETF and index investments, and she told me in Salt Lake City that we were there a week ago, that 80% of their buyers are direct investors, and of that group, 75% are first-time ETF buyers, which reflects the fact that these are young investors who were perhaps using a crypto exchange before, like a Coinbase, but they are now coming to a traditional asset manager like a BlackRock to store their net worth.
Which is stupid. Oh, God. Well, that part's loud. All right, moving on. Stable coins will be the most important topic over the next 12 months. Let's see what they got to see. Again, over here on CNBC television. Let's do it.
Price of Bitcoin near the 67,000.
So much.
That's a shocker. Don't tell. If it isn't, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to. Thank you.
Cheese and
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. 67,000 this morning. Crypto, it's up about 100. This currency up about 125% over the last year. Joining us now is Eric Golden, CEO of Canopy Capital Group. We haven't had much, I guess, developments since the ETF, have we? And that's really what has caused this recent move. We got as low as 16 at one point, 16,000, didn't we, in the last year and a half or 2 years?
Yes.
So 75 to 16, now back to 67. Most of it on the ETF or hash rate records? What is it?
I think it's been 3 things. The first is that in September, we saw central banks around the world cut rates, and 21 banks cut. We haven't seen that coordination since COVID or the great financial crisis. Stocks are all-time highs, bond spreads are at all-time tights. We're stimulating a very robust economy, which is going to push risk assets higher. The second is the election. We have, whether you believe the betting polls, the actual polls, the market sentiment you have on your show, people believe Trump's in the lead. And if Trump wins, that's bullish for crypto. And the final thing is the point you made, is that the ETF is probably the most successful product in recent memory. Spot Bitcoin is now at $65 billion AUM. It's raised $20 billion in 12 months. That's 5 times faster than gold got to that level. And so I think every asset management firm, some were ahead on crypto, some are behind. Every asset management firm now has to decide, what's our position on Bitcoin? What are the products we want to launch?
There was, I'm trying to remember, what was the most recent surge in gold to new highs? What do you think? That was partly the Fed, I think, in printing more money. But there are a couple of other things where Bitcoin was non-correlated with gold. It almost looked like gold was doing what it was supposed to do, what it was designed for, and Bitcoin was just acting like a risk-on, risk-off asset. Is it really what it's cracked up to be in terms of only $21 million debasement means that it's going to be good for Bitcoin? Because it doesn't act like it's truly going to do that? You think eventually that will be borne out?
No, I agree with you. If you zoom back out to March, Bitcoin's been a nothing burger. So yes, year to date it's been high, but we have so much volatility in this asset class. It's not yet gotten to the point where gold is truly the flight to quality.
Right.
I think both candidates are talking about increasing the deficit trillions of dollars.
Right.
Inflation isn't going away. The Fed's cutting. There's lots of reasons that investors are concerned.
If it really was truly a digital gold, it
should be up.
It should have been doing better.
And I think it's acting more like a risk asset. And
Right.
what's happening now is what I'm surprised at, which is that the Fed cut aggressively and then told the market it was going to cut even more. What the volatility we're seeing in the bond market right now is the market bringing back that timeline of they're not going to cut that aggressively, that rapidly. But if the Fed did follow that path, you would expect all risk assets to be higher. Independent of who the president is, I expect risk assets to be higher in 25.
We've had people on that everybody's got an axe to grind, obviously, but now I'm being told that that Vice President Harris is now amenable to crypto, or at least been for people that like crypto and don't want to say, vote for Donald Trump. They're now saying, I'm hearing good things from Kamala. Has she been intimating that she's friendlier toward, because Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, I was going to hit the stop the cap button because, I don't think he knows much about Bitcoin, this guy.
and many Bernie Sanders, people on the left do not like crypto.
Yeah, I think the Democrats on messaging, this is a little too late in the process to start, to your point, intimating that they might be pro-crypto. So I don't think it's falling. I think it's falling on deaf ears.
And if she wins the election, then would you jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, you said you were going to warm up to us?
I think people are hopeful. I mean,
you jump off the bandwagon, down a hill, into a fiery crash.
So you had Mark Cuban on, and I think it was Andrew who pointed out, look, the Democrats, they sidelined Elon at an EV event. They're isolating Silicon Valley. You're going after crypto. I think there's been a lot of relationships that have been mishandled, and I'd love to see if Harris becomes the president. I'd like to see those relationships rebuilt because this is a growing and important asset class for the world, and we can't just turn our heads because there's a couple of senators that really dislike it.
So it's an asset class for the world.
I think it is.
If you listen to the story, the unbanked and individuals that are in high inflation countries that all you need is a phone, really, right? I mean, you can be banked and protect your hard-earned cash if you're in a place where there's 20% inflation. It seems like the unbanked, it's a natural for the unbanked, but I'm still don't. Is that really happening?
The biggest story you're completely correct that in developing nations, Bitcoin is a core and important asset.
It is?
To your point, if you have runaway inflation, it could be an asset that's a safe haven. The point I was going to make is that stablecoins will be the most important topic, in my opinion, over the next 12 months. Right now, there's $6.5 trillion in money market funds. This week, you heard that Stripe acquired Bridge for $1 billion.
I'm sorry.
Stop the cap.
I think it's a huge moment for stablecoins, and I really think that will be the killer application that lets people adopt crypto.
What? That's not going to be the hottest topic for the next 6 months. What the fuck? What's this guy saying? Get the fuck out of here. Who is that guy? Don't invite him back. Expect a much more aggressive approach on China in a Trump administration. I want to see what this is about. This was, again, over on CNBC television a little while ago. 7 minutes long. Let's speed this up. If it's bad, I'll shut it off.
Both Vice President Harris and former President Trump have very different approaches to foreign policy as the election draws closer. Joining us right now with a look on what these policies might look like is Mike Gallagher, Palantir Head of Defense and former Republican representative for Wisconsin. Good morning to you. I'm curious, actually, if somebody was at a cocktail party with you and said, what do you think the distinctions on foreign policy are? Just straight up, what you actually think they would be, if you were in a sentence.
I think a much stronger military deterrent under Trump, a much more hawkish approach to China. And that is really, I think, where the biggest difference emerges. The Biden administration started off with a lot of continuity with Trump's China approach. And about midway through the administration, they shifted and they engaged in this sort of intense diplomatic rapprochement. They sent every major cabinet official to China in an attempt to turn down the temperature. I think you can expect a much more aggressive approach on China in a Trump administration. And I think his cabinet on national security would largely be populated with sort of Reaganite national security, speak softly, carry a big stick kind of hawkish.
Who do you think would be part of his cabinet? I mean, that's a big question.
Yeah, I think Secretary of Defense, the names you hear, Tom Cotton, Mike Pompeo, Mike Waltz, Robert O'Brien. I think for Secretary of State, Bill Hagerty, Robert O'Brien as well, John Ratcliffe at CIA. I mean, these are all very serious, smart, aggressive people. I think that would be a fantastic team, and I hope Trump and the Trump transition team takes a look at all of them.
Steve Leisman was talking earlier about tariffs and really talking how even bipartisan, as opposed to economists on a bipartisan way say that these tariffs turn into taxes on the American people. Do you agree with that?
Well, tariffs do come with costs. I think you have to make a distinction between the 232 tariffs, which I had opposed. These were the steel and aluminum tariffs. I think it was an exaggeration of the intent of the law. We don't have a national security threat from Canadian steel and aluminum, but I thought the 301 tariffs that Trump put in place and Biden largely kept in place were a good piece of work and highly justified. I think that gets to a broader economic dynamic. As we have a more intense or antagonistic relationship economically with China, we're going to have a proactive, positive trade agenda with other parts of the world. And we need to break down barriers to economic cooperation within the free world.
So you would be in favor of tariffs on China, but not necessarily on our allies?
No, I think we should actually expand our partnerships with our allies. I think we should look for digital trade agreements with our allies.
He's not talking about that,
agreement with Taiwan, a post-Brexit gold standard trade agreement with the UK.
But he's not talking about that. He's talking about putting a 200% tariff on deer. You know, if they move some of their stuff to Mexico.
I suspect President Trump, as was the case during his 4 years in the White House, is using a lot of this as a negotiating tactic. We'll see. He doesn't have an opportunity to kind of pull, and Nixon goes to China on trade in certain areas. The one thing I would say is that for all the talk about economic policy, which is very important, if we don't fix our military, if we don't fix our hard power investments, none of the rest of it is going to matter. And there we have a massive problem with our defense industrial base. Our stockpile of critical munitions has gotten dangerously low. You have a smart audience, right? They look at numbers all day. They're looking at correlations. They're doing pattern recognition. There's an almost perfect correlation between the stockpiles of critical munitions and peace and stability in the world. The reason we see Xi Jinping this week going to Russia for the BRICS summit with Putin, the reason this is the closest relationship between world leaders on the global stage today is because they sense an opportunity to displace America as the world's sole superpower because our military deterrent.
Can I ask a question about that, though? Do you think that under the Trump administration, 2016, 2020, from a budgetary perspective as it relates to defense, that he did anything that you would say was helpful to either reducing costs, helping the Defense Department, that is somehow different than the Biden administration?
Well, I was on the Armed Services Committee during those years, and what usually happened is the Defense Department submitted a budget that was insufficient, and I criticized the Secretary of Defense and Trump at the time, and then we, in a bipartisan fashion, would have to overrule that. And we did actually increase defense spending, but all we did was put a down payment on fixing readiness issues that were the result of the defense sequester under the Obama administration. What we didn't do was actually rebuild the Navy. We didn't transform the Fourth Estate. We didn't modernize the software that the military uses. That's what we do in Palantir, in my day job right now. We didn't do the transformative things that will be necessary in order to bend the cost curve, rebuild our shipbuilding industrial base in particular, and maximize production of critical long-range.
And do you think he would somehow do that this time? And why would he do it this time?
I think it would depend entirely on the team that he puts in place. If you look at the history of the Reagan administration, for example, it required the president backing a very talented Secretary of Defense, a very talented Secretary of the Navy, and they then had to go to war with their own bureaucracy in order to produce the 600-ship Navy. If you read Gates' memoirs, he had to go to war with his own bureaucracy to field the MRAP, which I was the beneficiary of when I was downrange in Iraq. It's going to require that same level of presidential leadership combined with talent in the form of a Secretary of Defense who's willing to push the bureaucracy to actually transform.
And to this day, Reagan is criticized for spending too much money on defense. And
well, he won the Cold War, so that's
what I mean. But there are certain things that you need to, as opposed to things that you spend money on that are absolutely useless.
You know, part of the problem, too, is the military is a microcosm of the rest of society, which is to say the money is largely not going towards the tooth, the weapon systems, what actually enhances lethality. It's personnel costs, right? It's healthcare, it's retirement. It's the same thing that's happening with the rest of society. Healthcare, retirement costs are consuming everything, and that's largely mandatory spending. That doesn't even get congressional review every year. That is the fundamental problem we need to fix, but neither party has exhibited enough willingness or courage to fix it.
Fixing by cutting down the numbers of people in the military, or fixing by cutting the benefits?
I think you could first attack the largest branch of the military, which is not the Army. It's DoD civilians, over 800,000 people. I think with advances in AI, we have an opportunity to automate a lot of those functions and reinvest it in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps. By the way, the entire acquisition workforce is larger than the United States Marine Corps.
Would you like Elon Musk to take a look at these?
I actually find what Elon is talking about extremely compelling, and I've had disagreements with Elon on Twitter Spaces about his views on China, but the SpaceX story is one of the most remarkable and inspiring in recent years. Him going out there and talking about.
Do you think he would figure out the Defense Department? Piece of this. You want them to invest in innovation. And also, I would imagine, well, you don't want them to cut the budget. He wants to cut the budget.
No,
I don't know if he wants to cut the defense budget, but he wants to create efficiencies.
Yeah, my overall view is that you can cut butter or certain aspects of the welfare state and invest that in a robust military deterrent. And you want a defense budget that at least keeps pace with inflation. But there is a lot of room for savings within the defense budget. The property, the Navy owns a bunch of golf courses and hotels that it doesn't need to own. It takes $15 billion a year, $10 to $15 billion a year, goes unspent. Congress appropriates the money to the military, and then it goes unspent, and it just goes into abeyance for 5 years and then back into the Treasury. Use that. Give them the flexibility.
What job do you want in the Trump administration?
My wife's going to give birth to twins in a month, so I will not be taking a job anywhere other than as a father.
What the fuck? What just happened? That whole thing. I don't know. Anyways, all right. Ripple's XRP drops as Chris Larson reveals $10 million donation to the Harris campaign.
Bruh.
Ugh. No comment.
Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First, sticking with Ripple. Its chair and co-founder Chris Larson has contributed more than $11.8 million in support of Kamala Harris's presidential run. Now, this includes a $10 million donation of Ripple's XRP token made in September. Now, in an X post yesterday referencing his contributions, Larson says that it's time for the Democrats to have a new approach to tech innovation, including crypto, and says that he believes that Harris will ensure that American technology dominates the world. Larson has emerged.
Dude, my biggest fear with I hate to be that guy, but what are the other countries gonna think if we elect her as president? It's I don't know, things could get real hairy.
As one of the largest individual donors within the industry for this election cycle. Now, others within Ripple Labs have also made contributions in support of candidates. The CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, donated to PACs and candidates, including California Representative Ro Khanna and John Deaton, the Republican running for Senator Elizabeth Warren's seat in Massachusetts. The company's chief legal officer, meanwhile, Stuart Alderati, has donated to the Trump 47 committee. Next, fintech giant Stripe is buying the stablecoin platform Bridge. The deal is worth $1.1 billion, making it the largest acquisition ever for crypto. In a post announcing the acquisition on X, Bridge said, quote, Stripe has led the way in building exceptional products for developers and builders all over the world. We're excited to learn from and work alongside their team as we expand our orchestration and issuance APIs. Meanwhile, Stripe CEO Patrick Collison called stablecoins room temperature superconductors for financial services in a post on X and said that Stripe is going to build the world's best stablecoin infrastructure. Now, Bridge has a...
Hold on. Lil Man Lou said other countries will think we dodged a bullet if we elect her. What? The only one that dodged the bullet was Trump. Just saying.
Number of notable investors, including Hahn Ventures, the only crypto-focused venture fund on their cap table. I spoke with Katie Hahn recently about the firm's strategy.
So intentionally from the beginning, you parse it out.
They called her the original Hawk Tuah girl on a live news channel. I don't know, man. I don't know. She slept her way to the top, is my opinion.
Into this $500 million early stage investment fund, another $1 billion focused on an acceleration fund. Katie, when you launched, have you had to change course, rethink your process or how you're investing money, given the environment that we're in?
Well, Mackenzie, the things that we were very purposeful and deliberate about when we raised the fund, first of all, you mentioned two vehicles. A lot of people don't recognize, like you do, that we have two vehicles. We have that $500 million fund that's really focused on the early stage founder. We've led a number of seed deals out of that, recently some Series A deals, and I think a lot of folks just combine the two. So that was very purposeful. The other thing that was purposeful, and I think has served us really well, is our pace of deployment. We said we were not going to be one of those funds that deployed in months. We would pick years. And I think looking back in hindsight, that was a very wise decision and one we feel very good about today as we sit here. Now, in terms of what we did do, given all that happened, which of course no one could have predicted, both Diogo and I have been in crypto for over a decade, but no one saw some of the blow-ups coming. We knew that there would be cycles, but we didn't know they would be quite so dramatic. And what we did do is we saw publics correct much more quickly than private markets. And so what that meant in terms of a strategy shift, if that's what you want to call it, is we were deploying out of our acceleration fund into public tokens sooner than we would have expected. If you would have asked me at the time I raised the fund, I would have thought that we would do kind of contemporaneously, some early stage, some later stage. But because of that public market and public token correction earlier, that was something that changed a little bit.
One of the 12 early stage investments that you've made this year has been into Bridge, which is this payments platform built on top of stablecoins. So many of the conversations that I have around crypto and what's interesting to people is the US dollar peg stablecoins as a payment rail that is extremely disruptive to existing legacy systems. How excited are you about Bridge and what that offers?
Well, we're very excited, not only about Bridge, but about stablecoin plays in general. And we have some other investments that we'll be announcing soon, hopefully, in that space. But I will say that with stablecoins, one of the things I think people don't realize is right now, stablecoins are the 18th largest holder of US Treasuries, about to surpass Germany. And I think when you talk about things like those statistics, that's just extraordinary, given that stablecoins kind of only came on the scene, more than 5 now. 7 years ago.
Real quick, Retro Mike, thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. I haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you though, buddy. Perfect. Thank you for that. I appreciate it a lot. Hopefully you're doing well.
We'll also be talking to Hahn Ventures partner Chris on tomorrow about this deal, so be sure to check back in. All right, for our main story, let's go back to crypto markets. So I spoke with Kavita Gupta, founder of the Delta Blockchain Fund, about Bitcoin's recent attempt to breach $70,000, the state of ETF flows, and what she expects for Bitcoin's price by year end. So Bitcoin hit nearly 70K this weekend, its highest price since July. It's since pared back those gains. My question to you is, what was behind the surge? And is the sell-off just investors taking profit, or is this something else that's driving the price here?
Hi. So I feel like a bunch of factors. Already early poll results had a lot of people, especially the crypto community, is baking in President Trump's win. So there is a little bit of that effect coming in. And also a lot of liquidity from China has started having a strong buy into the space again. And we have always seen that when it is China, it's always Bitcoin which goes up. Then we see the alt rally, and then we see ETH prices going up. So we are at the first stage, but now US presidential hopeful or expected win in combination with the Chinese market is creating a very interesting dynamics here.
You know, it's been a blockbuster few days for spot Bitcoin ETFs as well. They've collectively seen net inflows of nearly $2.7 billion over the last 7 consecutive trading days. Is that part of what's driving the price of Bitcoin higher as well? Or is it more of a chicken egg situation where that rising price of Bitcoin is then driving investors into these spot Bitcoin ETFs?
I feel like it is more the latter, because I just came to Dubai for an AIM conference, landed here from New York day before yesterday, and it's a very different atmosphere. When I was in Singapore earlier for a different conference, and in New York, it was little less hopeful. I was actually telling my team that Dubai, suddenly everybody, all the institutional investors having FOMO, and they feel like, oh, the Bitcoin prices are going up. We need to get into the liquid side of it. We need to get into liquid tokens. Markets are going to up. Suddenly we are getting so many LPs trying to get into the liquid positions on some of the blue chip tokens. It's fascinating to see. So I feel like it is a little bit of FOMO and the expectation then there is a bull cycle very close.
Now, going back to this idea that you were talking about a minute ago, the fact that investors might be pricing in a win for Donald Trump, it also seems like so much of the crypto community is starting to soften to Vice President Kamala Harris. We saw Chris Larson give her campaign nearly $12 million in XRP. So the conversations that I'm having is that people who are chatting with the Harris camp behind the scenes think that she will also have a more progressive stance when it comes to the digital assets industry. So do you think that this is almost a win-win, or does it seem to be that crypto investors are very confident that Trump is headed for success?
I think I'll divide this question into two. There is President Trump has been very vocal about his support for the space, and Vice President Harris does not have any clear or have any clarity about what would it look like. So
that's because she's trying to say that she's for it just to get votes. That's how it goes.
if somebody is a Democrat, if you're a Democrat and you do believe, apart from just one point agenda, overall the whole picture, and that's really resonates much better with the Democratic ethos, then you do want to play a role and you do want to be part of that campaign and you do want to make sure that they think it through right?
I'm gonna be honest, it does. I honestly don't think it matters for crypto, really, like a lot, right? For whoever becomes into power, because AI is going to take the forefront of the next couple of years, right? It's not really going to be focused on crypto as it was the last 4 years, right? It's just it's not. I mean, right now it's just to get a certain amount of people to vote certain ways. That's pretty much what it's about.
But if you look at on the global level, just outside America, you would feel that most of the people feel that President Trump would be a much better candidate for just not crypto policies, but overall for the markets. And
real quick, Kyle Rosa said people could change their minds. Trump thought it was a scam. Yeah, but so did everybody. Trump thought it was a scam. What was that? Back in like 2019? I think Cuban said the same thing. Mark Cuban. There was, Larry Fink, the guy that runs BlackRock, opened up the ETF for fucking like the whole world. He thought it was a scam too. Everybody thinks it's a scam until they actually look into it and understand it's not. It's, you know what I mean? People can't change their mind. You're right, but it's a convenient mind change at this point for her. Let's put it that way.
I think somewhere that's definitely getting added in.
So just over a week ago, Donald Trump, this crypto bank that he has backed, World Liberty Financial, the platform itself is not live, but they did the token sale. It has raised $13 million, very tepid interest so far. And I realize that it's limited to accredited investors, but it doesn't seem like that's the only limiting factor here with respect to buy-in. Talk to me about that dynamic and what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating question. I feel like when it was about to launch, or the strategy, people who were like talking behind the scenes, it felt like this would be the hottest product out there, especially with President Trump associated with it. Unfortunately or fortunately, it is nowhere close to the target which they set up, which were in 70s, if I remember it correctly. I think it is where, as you were talking about, people are hedging their bets. Like there is a support for it, but people are like, let him be president. I would be very, very curious to see that if they continue to offer this and President Trump is basically announced as a winner, how long will it take for that to get filled? But at the same time, on the technology side, use case of it, or how if I just look at it as a VC, just as a used product, of course, it is nowhere close to amazing technologies or the offerings which is out there. Said that, I think this is where the uncertainty and the hedging comes in.
Game One Smoky Dan said, let's see. He said, oh, yeah. Jamie Dimon's his name. You said JP Morgan, right? Said it's a pet rock and then got heavy into ETH. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. He talks so much shit about it and he's buying it up in the background. Like this happened way back in the day too, before the 2021 pump, right?
So the spot Ether ETFs, I was looking at trading volumes. It's an absolute fraction of what we're seeing on the Bitcoin side of things. Looking more broadly at the crypto market, are there any other trends that you're paying attention to outside of the price flows that we're seeing with Bitcoin and perhaps ripple effects from there to other altcoins?
Yeah. So every time Bitcoin goes up, one of the first things which I look at is Asian markets. Is the liquidity suddenly has been moving up and where is it going? Secondly, what are the altcoins which are picking up? So when I say altcoins, I start looking at Solana, Dodge, and like bunch of other layer ones and layer twos, Aptos, which has really actually gone up, Sei, Sui, etc. Because ETH has been traditionally is the last one to pick up, which is also then a very, very strong feeling that the market is up. ETH follows the altcoin rally. And the other trend which I'm following, which is very degen, by the way, in the space, is the meme coin trade. How much liquidity suddenly comes into the meme coin in this cycle, very similar to how NFT was doing in the last cycle. So those are the things. And then also on-chain volumes and the off-chain volumes with respect to RWAs and stable coin movements. Those are some of the big factors.
Last thing, I'm keen to hear your outlook for the crypto market through the end of 2024 and how much election uncertainty changes that estimation.
I feel that it is uncertainty. There are favorites, everything. But I feel like if President Trump is a clear winner in November, we will suddenly see a very big, a huge boost in the market. It may recorrect itself sometimes in January and February and start figuring out where to go for the recorrection. But if we also see in the for the Democratic side, if Vice President Harris comes into the picture, we feel like that it will take Fed rate cuts, it will take certain policy announcements, especially that there's not going to be taxes on unrealized gains. I think that's the big one, which a lot of traders and a lot of traditional traders and crypto traders have been a little afraid of. What does that mean? And I think some corrections on those policies will step by step, then we'll have a bull cycle. So everybody's like, hey, it's November is bull or July is going to be bull next year. So I think that is all connected with the candidate who gets to be the president later this year.
Yeah, that whole tax proposal that says get taxed on unrealized gains, that's for one, a bunch of horseshit, but two, I think it's for people that are over net worth of like $100 million or something. It's not like for the little guy, so not a lot of us don't have to worry about it. Crypto, one of the craziest years ever. Moving on to the videos, Mr. Lark Davis. Let's see what he's got to say over here, guys. That like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Crypto holders, this is one of the craziest years ever for crypto. You probably noticed, you've been here living through it. But legacy markets in particular are going just bonkers, man. And we're either all about to get like wildly rich or wildly broke. I'm on the wildly rich side, by the way, so that's fantastic. Let's hope that plays out, of course. That'd be fantastic for my bags. We got that to talk about today. We got Bitcoin to talk about. We got AI coins, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure to stick around for all of the good times. Let's get straight into it. So
I'm going to try to skip the bullshit. I like when he picks through Twitter and reads a bunch of shit.
This post here from Global Market Investors said this is one of the craziest years in the markets in decades. S&P 500 up 22%. Best performance in 27 years, hitting 47 all-time highs this year. Crazy, crazy stuff. Gold up 32%, on track for its best year in 45 years. Silver rallied 42%. Oil crashing like a global recession is coming. Utility stocks are having one of the best years of the century. Global central banks are cutting rates as if a global recession's already here. U.S. public debt is skyrocketing as if there's a financial crisis or a war. VIX and MOVE indexes, volatility of stocks and bonds, are trading like something bad is cooking in the markets. What is happening here, man? It's absolutely nuts right now what's going on in markets. Truly unprecedented times. NVIDIA looks like a Burj Khalifa pattern's about to start forming up on that bad boy at some point. How much higher can it push? Nobody knows, but it's absolutely crazy to watch all this stuff playing out. Meanwhile, our bad boy Bitcoin, the lagger. Ethereum lagging that. Everything else lagging that. At some point,
silver
crypto is going to catch up, okay? This is a chart here from Jackus sharing commodities, gold and silver, which are breaking out. Gold broke out first. Silver following. Is Bitcoin next? He says, I swear that 99.9% of people are still not going to get this. They think that they're getting a 40K retest or that 80K is the top. They also thought gold was topped at $2,100. Traders cannot comprehend the macro context.
If we get a 40K retest, I'm going to take out a loan against my house for sure. 40K, I highly doubt we're going to see that again, at least before we break new all-time high.
Everything we talk about all the time going on here. The rate cuts.
At least not before, rather.
M2 supply expanding, global liquidity index going up. Everything going on right now. This is one of the craziest years in markets. It's unprecedented. And it's an exciting time to be here. What's the old saying? Don't live in boring times, right? Well, these are not boring times, my friends. These are far from it. This is great. Boldly United shared this. Is hilarious. That's from The Lion King. Great movie, by the way. Says you can go anywhere the light touches, son. What's that shadowy place? That's $70,000. You must never go there. Feels like it sometimes. Watch the price of Bitcoin, man.
That's funny.
Meanwhile, Alliance Bernstein out here, the bulls, man. Bitcoin breaking out above $70,000. The sentiment screams risk on. That's what they are seeing. Like, let's go, Bitcoin. Yeah. Definitely markets are on a risk on vibe right now. Look at the tech stocks. Look at most markets. Meme coins are very much risk on right now. Bitcoin is definitely getting some strong risk-on vibes right now, especially from Wall Street. More on that in a second. But real quick, guys, if you're a cryptocurrency trader, you got to...
Nope. You fucker. I want to move past this charting stuff.
That would be my opinion on the matter. Horse flow here, fun stat for your decision-making. You have to go back over a year to find a single instance of a day like this being the low. In 100% of the events after this kind of a close, as FU close, the following day closes red as well, and anywhere between the low and the open of the prior day is often a good place to look for a loss of strength to short or sell into. That's interesting food for thought there. Meanwhile, Wall Street doesn't give a crap about any of that because they just bought another $294 million worth of Bitcoin, primarily BlackRock. BlackRock, the insatiable buyer.
Damn.
Insatiable. Look at this.
Dude,
look at the numbers for
so
BlackRock,
much.
man. $23 billion in total inflows just for BlackRock. That's crazy sauce, man. Fidelity's next closest, only at $10 billion. What? That's absolute crazy, man. Huge numbers coming in for BlackRock here. BlackRock buyers continue to be disciplined, continue to be extreme buyers, stacking massive amounts. The amount of outflows from BlackRock have been minuscule. We've seen a few small days like this, but for the most part, BlackRock have just been stacking like crazy, man. That's a beautiful sight to see. Nate Grassi, you're saying it's coming. Comic Canal, iShares Bitcoin ETF has taken in $1.5 billion over the past 6 trading days. That $1.5 billion alone would make it a top 5 launch of 2024 out of 570 ETFs that launched this year. But of course, it's taken in a total of $23 billion since January. Are there really still naysayers out there saying there's no demand for a Bitcoin ETF? Yeah, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are, but the facts prove them wrong. Hey, just a reminder, Ethereum ETFs still suck big fat balls. Nobody wants them. I know, okay. Jokes aside, we did have some inflows last week, okay? That did happen. We had a decent week last week, actually. We have to, recognize that for what it was. We had some good days, okay? Wasn't crazy by any means, but we had a few good days last week where somebody actually bought something. Today, yesterday, $20 million outflows again. Wall Street, BlackRock bought a tiny little bit. The sales team finally convinced one dude, like, hey man, buy some Ethereum, man. It's gonna be like this thing. They got like all this stuff going on, layer 2s and NFTs and stuff. So I was like, yeah, I guess throw $5 million in that. Why not? And then Grayscale selling another 30 million. Totally canceled that out. Anyway, interesting to see how that's playing out. Of course,
I almost wish the Ethereum ETF waited a bit before it came to light, just because it would have been nicer if it launched like towards the end of this year instead of when it did.
ETH charts
like growth,
drunk as usual. Not much to pay attention to there. Aptos. So guys, I'm an Aptos investor. Okay.
Nope. As soon as I hear that, no, it's a shill. All right, moving on. This is worse than you think. China is bracing for a giant impact suit. They got to stay over here on Altcoin Daily. Let's do it.
Well, if Bitcoin will become the ultimate type of form of the currency been adopted by human society, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen as the worst scenario or the must scenario. We're all going to die. This is not a joke.
This just in, China is bracing themselves for a giant impact. If you're an investor in Bitcoin and crypto markets, you need to watch today's whole video. China is in a position where they need to print intense stimulus for their markets to sustain. This is not just according to me. This is what the managing director of China Market Research Group is warning people. He's only been scared like this 2 other times before in his life. Listen to what he calls for at the very end of this clip.
Sean Ryan is founder and managing director of China Market Research Group. On a scale where 1 is flat and 10 is bubbly, where is the Chinese economy right now?
I'd give it a 1, Tyler. So as you know, I've been in China for 27 years. there are only 2 times that I've been really scared about a systemic financial risk in the economy. The first was in October of 2022, when we were dealing with the madness of zero COVID draconian laws in China. At that time, if you were considered a close contact of someone with COVID, you'd be sent away to a quarantine hospital for 15 days. So people didn't go out to restaurants, they didn't go out to shop because they were scared of having their family members taken away. The second time I've been very nervous was in August and September of this year. The business sentiment, consumer sentiment collapsed. So companies stopped hiring. That's why there's an 18.8% youth unemployment rate. Basically, Chinese youth are facing a lost generation. The second reason is it's very difficult to fire people in China. If somebody's been working in your company for 9 years, you have to give them 30 days notice plus 9 months of severance. So instead of just outright laying off workers, what companies started to do was cut salaries. They actually started clawing back bonuses from previous years, and they started demoting people. So what ended up happening, Tyler, is in August, September of this year, a very toxic, scared workforce permeated throughout the entire country. And that's why retail sales were only 2.2% growth in August, and everything hit a standstill. So the government had to launch a monetary policy, and that's why what I call a mini stimulus, but that's why you've seen the Chinese equity markets boom in the last 3 to 4 weeks, because the government realized
what has caused, Sean, this collapse, if I may call it that, in sort of the economic animal spirits of the Chinese consumer? That's question number one. And when you say something like this, when you say that this economy is a 1 on a scale of 10, do you feel vulnerable to any, you have any fear of retribution or that somebody's going to knock on your door when you say stuff like that?
Well, I think everybody knows I tell the truth. And so I'm going to be very balanced and very objective on what the economy is. So it's a very bad situation, which is why I'm calling for the government to launch more incremental, targeted fiscal stimulus.
The harsh reality of the situation is this. The U.S. market might actually be worse than the China market. This is the warning that billionaire investor Paul Tudor Jones is giving to people. The U.S. debt to GDP ratio, this looks like it's about to explode. They can't keep kicking the can down the road on this forever. This could get bad.
I think it's really important that we frame where we are right now. And where we are is an incredible moment in U.S. history. And what I really want to talk about is the debt trajectory that we're on. So we've gone in the space of 25 short years from debt to GDP at the federal level from about 40% to almost 100%, 60% in 25 years. And if you look at what our trajectory, what CBO projects our trajectory to be, as well as what we see is, and we're going to project further than the CBO. So I'm going to show you a chart. This is debt to GDP. So CBO says that we go from 98 to 122, I think 124. That's very conservative over the next 10 years. If you extrapolate that 30 years, you get to 200% debt to GDP. And so that's something, obviously something that can't go on forever, won't. And the question is, after this election, will there be some point of recognition, particularly with all the tax cuts that are being promised by both sides and the spending plans? I mean, they're handing out tax cuts like they're Mardi Gras beads, right? We're doing tax cuts on everything from tips to toucans. So it's crazy what's being promised. After the election, I think the fact that you've got 7 to 8% budget deficits as far as the eye can see, the question is, will the markets allow either candidate? I think under Trump, the deficit goes up by $500 billion per year. Under Harris's plan, it goes up by an additional $600 billion plan per year. I have a feeling all those are just pipe dreams.
Please watch the next clip. More people need to watch the next clip. Paul Tudor Jones just said the quiet part out loud. I can't believe he admitted this. Here he explains how our U.S. economy is as fake as WWE wrestling. Listen.
I was watching this Vince McMahon documentary, and in it, and I loved wrestling, particularly when Stone Cold and The Rock and all of them. So in it, there's a term that I never heard of called kayfabe. And in wrestling parlance, that represents the unspoken, unwritten, tacit agreement between the wrestlers and the fans about the illusion that's going on in the ring, the suspension of disbelief that what's going on in the ring is actually, we know it's scripted and we know it's a performance, but they ask us to think it's genuine and real.
And so that's what you think this is?
Yeah, we're in an economic kayfabe right now. And it's not just the United States, we're in it in the UK, in France, Greece, Italy, Japan being the biggest of all. It's this economic kayfabe. And the question is after this election, will we have a Minsky moment here in the United States and U.S. debt markets? Will we have a Minsky moment where all of a sudden there's a point of recognition that what's going to happen or what they're talking about is actually fiscally impossible, financially impossible.
Look, when you listen to what experts are saying, you know what Bitcoin is going to do in 2025. When you take a look at what's about to get resolved and what comes next after this, and understand the entirety of US and global markets, because don't forget, Bitcoin and crypto is a global asset class. Make sure you subscribe to Altcoin Daily. We give you an edge in crypto with daily videos, keeping you informed. If you're interested in making money in crypto, make sure you subscribe. This is what is getting buried from the Paul Tudor Jones interview. This is what more people need to see and hear.
Are you off buying gold and Bitcoin and
I think all roads lead to inflation. We're going to end up,
but does all roads lead to inflation, therefore gold is a good investment? Is Bitcoin a good investment to you?
I'm long gold. I'm long Bitcoin. I think commodities are so ridiculously underowned, so I'm long commodities. I think most young people find their inflation hedges via the NASDAQ. That's also been great. It's probably some combination. I probably have some basket of gold, Bitcoin, commodities, and NASDAQ, something like that, and I would own zero fixed income. If I had my cash, it'd be very short term. The playbook to get out of this, you see it in Japan right now. They have 2% inflation, 30 basis points overnight. They don't want to raise rates. The playbook to get out of this is that you inflate your way out and you have a small tax on the consumer and you run interest rates and nominal growth rate, interest rates below inflation and nominal growth above inflation. And that's how you reduce your debt to GDP. So you're going to have the Fed they should be easy. They should be easy.
You want them to cut.
So just real quickly, every 100 basis points, given where our debt to GDP right now, every 100 basis points is worth about $90 billion a year to the deficit. $90 billion. So yes, if we're trying to stabilize debt to GDP, we want to run the most dovish monetary policy that we can without letting inflation become too much of a tax on the citizenry. So yes, all roads lead to inflation. That's historically the way every civilization has gotten out, is they've inflated away their debts.
We're going to keep you updated on this.
Interesting. All right, let's get into the recap segment of things. If you guys, like Michael Saylor says, right, if you guys think of Bitcoin as property and not just a coin or whatever you want to think of it as, it's probably the best way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, how many houses can you own? How many Bitcoins can you own? You know, that's just how it is. All right, recapping the price: $66,464. Got Ethereum at $25.81. Solana $166. We got 88.35 cents, 35.5 almost. We have XRP at 52 cents. We got, let's see, Caspa at 13, a little over 13. Crazy. Took a nice pullback. It was actually at I think it was up over 14. If I'm not mistaken, yesterday. Litecoin at 68.84. Again, everything's pulling back today. ETC at 18.69. We have Near Protocol at $4.57. I want to get back into that one, to be honest, personally, but I don't know. We'll see. Doge 13.5 cents, just about. Looking pretty good. We have this carry, whatever this is, CRE. I have not looked into this, so I'm not sure what it's about, but it's 24 cents right now. It's up 28.77%. Crazy. BNB is at $581. BitTensor at $526, down 5% today. Yeah, buying opportunity, my opinion. You guys do what you want. Let's see, crypto bubbles. Let's see, Ape is still the biggest loser of the day, down 19.8%, almost 20% to $1.18. And it looks like this SPX one just took the top of the charts there, ranked 99th. SPX is 6,900. I have no idea what this is. 77 cents. Not a clue. Has anyone heard of that? What is that? A meme coin or something? Weird. That's new. That one just popped up. It was Mew over here. Cat in a dog's world, but not no more. Flashbang. Fear and Greed Index at a 71. This is as long as it's under 75, I think we're good, right? I want to see it get back into the middle, but it is what it is. Guys, that's gonna do it. I gotta get back to daddy duty. You know how this goes, and I'm freaking super tired today. Hopefully you guys have a great, happy, and safe Wednesday. I will catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, be safe. I'll catch you soon. Peace.
If she don't hawk to her, we don't talk to her.
Perfect. Eat shit, Gary.